Hello, goof friends. Welcome back to the Freaky Femme podcast. I'm Doll.
And I'm M. Bleh. And I'm M.
You didn't sound too
And
sure about that.
I know.
You're M? Question mark?
We are going to talk about doppelgangers today because this is something, one, that was always fascinated me. Two, I can't imagine. This would be, to me, one of the scariest things is to see someone that looks like you.
Yeah.
You know? Can you imagine? I mean, to me, that's terrifying.
To me, actually,
Like someone
it's
trying to
actually
take
my
over
dream
your
come
life.
true. Well, I guess if it was a body snatcher, you know, like the pod people, from the Invasion of the Body Snatcher, that would be scary. But I've always wanted a twin ever since I was a kid. Like, that was my dream to have a twin, because I felt like if I had a twin, they would just want to do everything that I want to do. So I always had someone to do something with, which wouldn't be the case, you know, but that's in my head. So I guess I don't want a twin. I just want a clone. We need to just push towards clones.
I used to always want a twin too, but I wouldn't want. I wouldn't want to see a doppelganger. A doppelganger when I. Yeah. Speaking of gamers, you know what the doppelgangers make me think of? Do you remember the Tomb Raider where you had the doppelganger? It looked like you, but it was like the flesh one. I think it was like. Oh goodness! I think it might have been in the first game.
I don't know if I remember that.
And it was you, and it'd mirror everything that you do.
Oh, kinda, yeah.
And you would have to, like, watch it, and then you'd have to make it, I think, like, fall in a hole and get burned up so you didn't or something. I think it might have been the first game, so it was a long time ago, but I was like, that for some reason, every time I think of doppelgangers, I think of that game.
When I've heard doppelgangers, and I've always, like, it was like a, I guess, old movie type thing. Oh, he's your doppelganger. I just knew it as someone that looks like you, or I've heard it used as in like a celebrity, your celebrity doppelganger, you know, or like someone that just looks like you. Not till more recently did I know that there was actually like a phenomenon or like a scary aspect to having a doppelganger, or like the stuff behind that. Like if you see someone that looks like you, run. Basically, it makes me think it falls in the same window as skinwalkers, because they can mimic or try to become people too. I guess they kind of had that idea back in the day, because they did have the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is like the first big media thing of that, because that terrified people so much that they had to create a new ending for it because people thought it was real.
Mm-hmm. But they also thought or people also freaked out like about Psycho and a couple other ones back in the day. We'll jump into the origin of doppelgangers first, and then I'll read some stories I found on Reddit that people have shared about their encounters. So the term doppelganger originates in the German word doppelganger, meaning double goer, reference to a ghostly double or counterpart of a living person, often seen as a shadow or spirit self. The concept of a spirit double is ancient. The word doppelganger itself first appeared in German literature in the late 18th century and later entered English in the mid-19th century. So, the belief in spirit doubles or doppelgangers is ancient and widespread, and one in various cultures, often associated with omens, ill luck, or even death. That's not fun.
Okay, it kind of scared me when you said that it shows like as shadow people, your spirit people. Like, that shadow thing that I saw was not my spirit. Yeah, it's like the thing I saw wasn't me. It was a man, unless that's what I really look like. I think I see myself, and I actually look like a 5'9" man.
It really looked like you in that video.
That's what my spirit looks like. Yeah, that'd be so sad. Like, this is as if I really looked like this.
But I mean, thinking of it as like it's the spirit of you.
Yeah.
But I feel like in a lot of versions, it's always bad. So
yeah, that's what it kind of says. It's like almost like a showing of you're going to die or something, a bad omen. Which I would understand.
German folklore says that the apparition it's an apparition of a living person as distinguished from a ghost. The concept of the existence of a spirit double, exact but usually invisible replica of every man, bird, or beast.
Hmm.
It is an ancient and widespread belief. Then that makes me think. So I don't know if you've heard the thing where they're like a bad omen is like uh it used to happen at our haunted house like that we grew up in. Birds like flying into the glass and they
Yeah.
die. Happened at
And
my
is
work too, and it was that bird was dead on the windowsill for like 2 weeks.
wow.
My desk, the window outside my desk, and I'm like,
You
this is
just
a
had to
bad
stare at
omen.
it. Yeah, I think it is a bad omen, and like a bird flies into your window and dies.
Then it dies, yeah. Because why would it do that? But obviously, like, it's not a mirror. So
Hmm.
why did it do that? I don't know. So in Norse mythology, it's a ghostly double who is seen performing the person's actions in advance. So kind of like, and then is it your version's like deja vu? When you feel deja vu, it's because your spirit double's already done it.
Hmm. I looked up the
It's
thing about
Finnish.
the bird real quick. It says, in a spiritual context, a bird hitting your window can be interpreted as a message or a symbol, often indicating a need for an introspect or awareness of upcoming changes. It can symbolize a call to action, urging you to consider your life's decisions or make changes. Different bird types and their behaviors can add further layers to the meaning. That's really interesting. So, depending on what bird hits into your
What?
window, it can mean different things. It's a call
We
to
should really
action.
do an
Yeah.
episode on that because
Birds meaning.
bird
We should just do
that
a
hit my
thing on bird
window.
meanings because there's so many different meanings behind certain birds when you see them.
Okay, so this is a Wikipedia meaning before we get into the story, people's actual stories. So, the doppelganger is a ghostly double of a living person, especially one that haunts its own fleshly counterpart. That doesn't sound good. Fiction and mythology, a doppelganger often portrayed as a ghostly or paranormal phenomenon and usually seen as a harbinger of bad luck. Other traditions and stories equate that the doppelganger is an evil twin. In modern times, the term twin stranger is occasionally used. So we went kind of into explaining what doppelgangers are. They're usually bad omens, and they're a ghostly counterpart. Let's read some stories on Reddit that people have actually posted of their encounters with doppelgangers. Okay, so this one's from 3 years ago, called 3 years ago by the submitter was itty bitty 216. This one says, around 15 years ago, when both my kids were toddlers, I was putting them to bed. One night, one of my sons was adamant about that he wear his favorite red race car pajamas. Happily obliged, helped him to change into them and tucked him into bed. Then I sat down at the kitchen table with a friend had come over to catch up. The way my apartment was set up, you could see my kid's bedroom doorway from the kitchen table. My friend and I were talking for a while before we were suddenly interrupted by a sound of my son screaming. Both turned and looked at the bedroom doorway and saw my son standing there, loudly screaming and shrieking, wearing his green pajamas with airplanes on them. Inside of me was screaming that this was wrong. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, and a cold shiver shot down my spine. My friend and I wordlessly stared at each other for a second. We both knew that my son couldn't change his pajamas by himself. Because if he was a toddler, so he's probably like 2 or 3. Yeah, definitely not. Like my 6-year-old's just now learning to like take her clothes off and putting them on her own. So that's very weird. We looked back at the doorway and my son was gone. We ran to the bedroom and found him tucked in bed, still sleeping peacefully. His red race car pajamas were still on. My friend asked me if I saw him standing there in the green airplane pajamas, and I confirmed that I had. My friend freaked out and left. Wow, some friend, she just up and left. She's like, I'm out. Slept on my kids' bedroom floor that night to make sure nothing happened to them. My friend and I still talk about it to this day. It's one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me. My son, of course, doesn't remember any of it. He loves hearing the story of how his doppelganger scared the crap out of us. She's like, LOL at the end. I'm like, this isn't funny, lady. This is scary. It's one of the stories. I would freak out.
Yeah.
A kid that looks like your kid in different pajamas. He couldn't like mimic it all the way, kind of like skinwalkers.
Yeah.
Screaming, crying.
That'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
To be honest, I probably
You
wouldn't have
go in the
noticed if he
room.
wasn't in the same pajamas. I'd probably just pick him up like, what the heck, and then just pat his back because I would think I would just forgot.
Yeah. So here's another one from 3 years ago, also from Confused Confizzled. Say, I have one. This happened to many of us girls that worked together. We worked at a dog kennel place. Many weird things happened. Let me stick to our main theme for this comment. We would hear each other speaking when we weren't there that day. I would consistently see my manager standing next to me as I bathed the dogs, like she wanted to say something, but when I turned, there was no one there. We would randomly get called to the kennels or office, and then we got there and no one was looking for us. Sometimes radios turned off, would go on and sound, bring Fido to the office for pickup. To the office with said dog, and no one had radioed, nor were the owners there. Twice, one of my friends texted me mad because she saw me talking to the manager on my day off, and I was upset that I didn't go back and talk to her for a bit. Didn't go in. Called it a mimic or imitator, and it was always the same 3 of us who were mimicked.
That's
Why is it at a
interesting.
dog
Well,
kennel?
that doesn't sound like a doppelganger. That sounds like a demon slash ghost. That's called like a mimic. Where it mimics.
And then she finishes with saying, like I said, a lot more creepier stuff happened. So if y'all want to know, I can write out all the experiences from that job. I have loads more from personal life. So we have another one from Unauthorized with 2 eyes from 3 years ago. I can only assume my mom encountered was a doppelganger. Before I start, my dad used to work at night. Anyways, when I was 6 or 7, I lived in a townhouse with my mom and dad. Up until my mom passed away less than a couple of months later. She was pouring me some milk in the kitchen like every other night, and I was winding down for school the next day. There was nothing scary about that night, and I was waiting for my mom to pour the milk, and looking out into the living room in front of me. On one of my head swivels from looking around, my dad had appeared in the front closet door of the living room. It didn't scare me at first, since I just assumed it was my dad, but looking back, there was no noise ever made. Our door and floors creaked, and with how quiet it was, we would have heard anyone moving around. However, what was so scary about it was my dad, he has in parentheses, was just standing there and staring at us from across the room.
Mm.
Wasn't scary at first since I still was under the impression
It
that
was your dad.
it was my dad. But the longer he kept standing there and staring at me, the scarier it got. He didn't move an inch, didn't blink, and longer I kept looking at him, I noticed his eyes were too small. So did he have like little beanie
Yeah,
eyes? Did
that's
he
what
have what did Boo Boo call those eyes?
pizza seeds.
Seed eyes?
Yeah, fennel
What are they
seeds.
called? Fennel seeds?
Yeah.
Fennel seed eyes?
Yeah, that's actually what people depict them at. If you see like TikToks of people recreating the doppelganger type videos, um,
Small
that's what they
eyes?
do. They give them small eyes because it's like just like with uh, what are they called?
Walkers?
Skinwalkers. They can't perfectly mimic people, so there's something off about them. So they're like, if you see someone like, you usually can tell. Especially that's why they say that some people that are really close to the people it's trying to mimic usually can tell because it is how well do you know that person it's trying to
Mm.
mimic. And since you know yourself so well, well, if you see yourself, you know something's wrong. But they usually try to,
Yeah.
fool other people.
Oh no. Me and my body dysmorphia, but like, are my eyes really that small?
Yeah, but you look in the mirror, you look at it, you look in the mirror, you're
Like,
like, wait a
I don't remember
second,
my eyes looking like that.
wait
Maybe
a
they are. I
second,
don't know.
who are you?
Ah. So,
I'll have to send you
Dad's
some of those
eyes were too
videos.
small. Yes, please send them to me. They were wide open, but small enough to where it looked wrong. I remember I stared, but I remembered I started to blink and rub my eyes because I thought maybe I was seeing things until I blinked and it just disappeared. No noise at all. There was no way, considering it disappeared in a blink of an eye, that it had humanly moved that fast without making some kind of noise. Because I guess they had squeaky floors, from what he said.
Mm-hmm.
The only way it could have disappeared as fast as it did is that as if it fast as it did was if it slammed the door shut behind it. I remember how terrified I was at the point of looking at my mom to see if she saw it too, but when she didn't say anything, I assumed it was just a hallucination. That's what he thought for years. It wasn't until a few years ago I was telling my dad about that night and he told me that my mom had also seen it, but due to her mental health problems and me not saying anything to her or him about it, I hadn't, in parentheses, it says I hadn't said anything when I looked at her. He dismissed it as a hallucination. Nothing quite like that has ever happened to me again, but that experience was the reason for years I couldn't sleep without the lights on. Before that day, was not afraid of the dark. I didn't believe in ghosts and was not really exposed to religion, not recently either. Every night after the incident until we moved, I was petrified to even sleep in my room. Yeah. So that's unauthorized story. We have another one. So I got another one from 3 years ago. So they say this is from Parasaur Matthew. Ah, I've seen and heard a few. They aren't very creepy or anything. Me, they were. My dad woke me up once, shaking me awake and telling me to get up in a very urgent tone that he rarely used. I didn't turn around and face him or anything. I just fell back to sleep. After hearing heavy footsteps walk off, later I woke up in a panic, thinking I had missed an appointment or something. He said he hadn't even left his room. The second time this happened, I woke up and I felt like I was being watched. This time I opened my eyes and glanced over to the bathroom door, and my sibling was staring at me. He slowly moved over to the edge of my bed, weirdly slow. I sat up and told them to go back to bed. The house was so creepy. I know they wouldn't. The house was so creepy, and I know they wouldn't heed. I think they meant to say head downstairs in the middle of the night, no matter what. I offered to bring them back up, and they didn't seem to register anything I was saying. So they sat down. It was pretty much a wordless staring contest. Eventually, they left in the same santer, and I wearily fell back to sleep and asked about it in the morning. Yep, never left the room. Upstairs, I barely slept while I lived in that house. It was always loud and every night brought something different. Anyways, I would sleep. I would be startled awake by something. The last one I can remember was my sister coming home and the front door opening and slamming with her yelling up at us saying that she was home before hearing her jog downstairs. She was supposedly at work, so my mom and I exchanged glances. I went to go greet her. I looked everywhere. All the rooms were empty and the house was quiet. The door never opened again, and everyone in the house at that time was upstairs. We messaged both her and my older sister, both which were not home and never came home. Kinda wish I got to see what opened the door. Everyone in the house heard it, and so that one I can
Sounds like they're just living
confirm
with a
wasn't
mimic.
brought on by sleep deprived hallucinations. He's saying it's a house. I think it's a
Yeah.
house that was
It's like
messing
a
with him,
mimic's
not a
probably possessing their
doppelganger.
house. You know what I was thinking though?
Mm.
Maybe we had a
Uh,
mimic slash doppelganger in our house.
oh, it says weird stuff, really. The first two happened at my grandma's house, where one person passed away. The second was in our old home. Someone passed away in the house. It was grandma's house where someone passed away were the first ones, and then the second one was in their old home. So interesting, but that sounds more like
Yeah.
demon
Like a
stuff
mimic,
than a
something
doppelganger.
possessing their house.
But yeah, a mimic or skinwalker that's pretending to be someone because he
Yeah, because
didn't.
he's pretending to
Well,
be
he said
multiple
he did
people.
see. Yeah, so he did see one that looked like his sister that was standing in the bathroom, but
And one that was
that
mimicking her
didn't say
dad.
anything.
But
But then, you know what that makes me think of?
hmm.
You know how our older sister said that she saw someone that looked like her son standing in the
Yeah.
doorway asking to come in.
Yeah.
And then I've heard things that sound like my daughter like trying to wake me up in the middle of the night.
I wonder if it's
So,
just like demons, like trying to trick you. So it's not like a doppelganger.
well,
Doppelgangers
to
are just
me,
kind of
I'm just
demons.
glad I didn't see
Yeah.
her because that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Like our older sister, like seeing her son, knowing she said she knew in her head that he wasn't home, he wasn't there, like he physically wasn't in the house, he was
Yeah.
with his grandparents, like begging her to let her let him come in. Terrifying to me, like
It
that.
is.
Every time she's told me that story, it gives me chills. Like that's why I was like, I'm never having kids. Like that's terrifying. That's so scary. I don't. No. 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 Guess that's our closest stories
Yeah,
to
those are either
doppelgangers
doppelgangers, mimics, demons. But they all seem similar at this
or
point.
skinwalkers. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all very similar. They all do similar things to try to trick people.
Okay. We have a few more. One's from Oculate with 2 U's.
Somebody
3
keeps
years
stealing these
ago.
people's usernames and they have to get creative because they want the same name.
So they say, I remember way back when I was still in high school, I was playing games on my couch when my mom opened up the door, peeked her head in, and told me she was home for lunch. I literally thought nothing of it. The only thing I felt was off was that the blue shirt she was wearing, I'd never seen her wear before. But then again, never cared much about those sort of details to begin with. Anyway, an hour goes by, and my mom opens up the door and she peeks her head in and tells me that she just went on lunch and wanted to know if I wanted to get some of her fries. I told her I'd just seen her an hour ago, and she told me she was on lunch and how she was wearing a blue shirt, which at this point she was wearing a white shirt. She looked confused and told me she wasn't home at all that day since leaving for work. And that was about 1 p.m. when she usually and that it was about 1 p.m. when she usually takes lunch. I still don't know if that was a doppelganger or a spirit or if I had a weird mental moment, but I never got a scared feeling nor out of worldly presence from who I believe to be my mom. But the fact that he noticed that her shirt was a different color,
Mm-hmm.
something that he says he never notices any other time. He notices that she was wearing blue when she came in, and that wasn't her. And then when she came in with a white shirt, that was her.
Yeah.
She's like, I hadn't been home. It just messed up something as simple as
The shirt color, just like with the
color.
kid at the beginning in the
Yeah.
pajamas. It's
Just
just,
change the
I
pajamas.
really think they can't perfectly mimic, and that's why. Because there's just something prohibiting them. Because if they could perfectly mimic, then, we would all be dead. Like, there's something keeping them from perfectly doppelganging, twinning, whatever you want to call it, mimicking who they're trying to mimic.
No, that's what's weird. We could go down this rabbit hole of how people think that Avril Lavigne isn't the real Avril Lavigne, and
Yeah.
it's the other one from the Beatles. Oh, Paul McCartney isn't
Yeah.
really Paul McCartney. Like, they're doppelgangers. That's what everyone thinks. Which I don't know, but I'm like, who knows? We don't know. I'm not saying there is or there isn't, but there definitely could be. Okay. This one's from Chowder Chop from 3 years ago. Many years ago, probably about 10 now, I had a look-alike in the same town as me. The catch is that I never saw her and only heard about her from others, my dad included. Oh, that's weird. My own father mistook this person for me one day, so that go. Blah, blah. My father mistook this person as me one day, so that goes to show how much we looked alike each other. I knew where she worked only because people would ask me if I had also worked there. The question was so often asked to me while I was working. I did try a few times to visit her at work just to see if maybe I could recognize this look-alike of mine, but I never did. I also knew her name at one point because people thought maybe she was my sister and had asked one day about what her name was. The name was a long the name was long The name has long since left my memory. Eventually her work shut down and it was a video library for renting movies and games. Streaming was becoming more popular at the time. My story is not nearly as exciting or interesting as the other stories, though it still blows my mind to this day that I had a doppelganger and possibly a look-alike in my very own town, and I never once saw her, but people around me always did.
That's crazy that so many people saw it.
Like, that's still weird, because, I felt like our dad growing up would always say that you have a twin in the world. There's someone out there that looks just like you. That makes me think more that my dad was a conspiracy theorist, but I'm like, we were always taught to believe. Yeah, if you think about it now, our dad was very, very much a conspiracy theorist, but he used to always tell us that there was like someone out there in
Yeah, I
this
wonder
world
where
that
that
looked
thought
just
came
like
from,
us.
because that's been around forever then,
Right.
because I've heard that so many times that there's someone out there, you have a twin out there. Like, bro, where are you getting this information? Well, I guess if we're all related in some way or another, I guess maybe genes, that have been passed around for so long, like they're just gonna spit out a similar copy at some point, you know?
It's trippy to think about if it's
Mm-hmm.
real, Or it's just a doppelganger and we just believe, oh, it's just your twin, but it's really your evil twin because it's like
Yeah.
a ghostly form. It's not good. So someone actually commented on this, so I'm gonna read their comment. It said, I mean, there's a few, but this one looked interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Similar experience 2 years ago. Apparently, there was a murder about 1.5 miles from me. The suspect killed and maimed
Mm-hmm.
wife and kid. It was gruesome. Then the photo of the suspect was released. Got about 25 calls. My phone to this day, and 50 messages from all types of friends and family and acquaintances. Apparently, the guy looked exactly like me. Smile, facial hair, even the clothes. I even had Leo's stop me. It was bizarre to say the least. That is scary.
I think this actually has
This is
happened, where somebody got mixed up because they looked exactly like somebody else that committed a crime.
But then you have to think about people like, for example, the Zodiac killer that was never caught.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say people like try to describe what they looked like and say someone out in the world
He kept changing how he
it
looked.
looks like that person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like that person, and then they're like, oh, it's this guy because someone saw this person and they tried to describe what it looks like and it happens to look like someone else out in the world.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it was like a sketch or something, which would make more sense than a
Yeah.
picture that looked exactly like this person.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's scary.
But it's also like,
oh my gosh.
yeah, that's really weird. I'm gonna look it up right now while you're doing that.
Okay. So this one is from Starry Lisa 61 from also 3 years ago. One day years ago, I ran into a friend I hadn't seen for a few months. I said hello, and she got a bit snippy with me and made a remark. Oh, now you're talking to me. I was bewildered, and even more so when she told me that she had seen me at her church at the 11 o'clock Mass the past 3 Sundays. She talked to me at each mass, but I either glared at her or ignored her. I told her that I hadn't went to church on I had went to church on Saturday at 5 for the evening mass, and I was nowhere near her church at that time. She kept insisting that it was me, so I suggested that I go to Mass with her the following Sunday, and I did. And I wasn't there that day. We'd gone through the grade, and we'd gone through grade and high school together, and she knew me and swore up and down that it
That's
was me,
crazy.
dressed in the exact same coat I wore, same makeup and perfume. The fact that she got that close that she could smell her and she
Yeah.
smelled just like her.
It feels
So,
like she does
how
have
was I
something
there
following her,
when
though.
I wasn't? Yeah. So, that's a short one. She said it was truly mysterious.
Truly
I have one
mysterious.
more if we have
Yeah,
time for
you
it.
have one. Time for one more.
Okay, this person is from additional ninja 7506 from 3 years ago. I had two experiences following each other, which is strange because I don't experience many paranormal encounters. So my mom and I were cooking in the kitchen when I had heard a knock at the sliding door and my dad yell, "Hello?" the exact way he always does when he wants us to open the door for him. The voice, tone, and rhythm was exact and familiar. So my mom tells me to go and open for my dad, and I go to check, but no one was at the door. I walk into the kitchen and tell my mom this, and just as I do, we see him drive up to the gate through the kitchen window. We live on a farm, so the gate is quite far from the house. That was Skinwalker, bro. No, you live on a farm. That was definitely Skinwalker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it said it couldn't have been a prank. And he's not that type of way. The next day, around the same time, my mom and I were in the kitchen again. Another knock on the sliding door. My mom tells me to go open for my dad. And I say something like, it'd be really creepy if there's no one there again. And I'm sure you can guess, but yet again, there was no one at the door. It happened twice those 2 days after each other, but I really don't know what to make of it. Not like sounds just like your dad asking you to let him in and you go there and he's not there. And it's something that he normally does, so you know what he sounds like. I would literally pass away. I wouldn't be able to make it to that sliding door. And you're on a farm, so you're probably out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
That
to
is
get help would be so
terrifying.
much harder.
That is terrifying. Yes. Oh my gosh. The mom hears it too, and she's like, "Go let your dad in."
Yeah, what
And
the
you
heck?
go,
I'm like,
no
no,
one's
Mom,
there.
you go let Dad in. You go let the monster in.
Like, if you don't believe me, go see. He ain't there.
What are your thoughts on doppelgangers in general? Do you think that they're bad, or they're just spirits mimicking things, or do you think they're actual people?
I think they're demons mimicking people. I don't know, just toy would mess with them, I think.
Yeah, I think
What
so
about
too.
you?
I really don't think it's like a actual different type of entity. I don't think. I think it's some
I
type
don't
of
think it's
spirit or
another
demon,
copy
yeah.
of a person, yeah.
I really think it's
I feel like it's not good, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's somebody trying to throw people off or just playing games, causing mischief, you know, they get bored one day. Or maybe trying to, just throw people off. I really don't think it's like an actual different type of entity that just chooses to look like you, you know? I mean, I guess it is technically if it's like a demon or demon spirit type thing, but it could be a type of warning too. Like they were talking about, I really feel like it's a type of warning if you see something that you recognize, but it's not them. It feels like it would be a warning. Like if I saw someone that looked like me, like like you were talking about the Germans think, like I feel like it's a warning or it's like something bad's about to happen.
Yeah. Well, some of these stories it didn't say, they noticed different things, but a few of the stories, like it was something as simple as the color of the shirt was different. And they happened to notice that one thing was different about them.
Yeah, I feel like if it is something different, like it feels like a skinwalker. If it would be a different type of being or monster.
Or the person that saw the little eyes. The eyes were smaller than his dad's.
Yeah, there's always something different.
I'm not gonna think of a fennel seeds from our little brother, but no. Of this, and if you have any skinwalker or doppelganger
any type of spooky story.
Yes, please.
It can be even real life, like if you had like real life spooks. Scares.
Or you have family like passed down stories that has happened to you. We would love to share it on our podcast, so please send it to us at our freakyfems at gmail.com.
Yep. You also can comment on any of our platforms or write us on Instagram or TikTok, and just let us know, and
we would love to share your stories. Yes, if you have any recommendations, please send them to us.
Yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
That being said, lock your doors and check your windows.
If you see someone that looks like you, run and hide.